Here we go. Kol hazvachim. Zevachim sacrifices. I guess we'll figure out together what it's talking about. Okay, so Kol hazvachim. Let's see. Kol hazvachim shenisaku shelo lishman. So there are different rules. We're going to probably learn a lot about it over the next year. Zevachim and menachos are each very large mesechtas, 120, 130. So it'll take us probably 2/3 of a year to get through both of them. Those are the big ones coming up. All the sacrifices, Kol hazvachim. Zevachim is a sacrifice. Shenizbachu shelo lishman, that are brought shelo lishman. So you have to have the right intentions, and you have to have the right thought process when you're bringing a sacrifice. So if you're bringing a ola sacrifice, you better have in mind an ola, not a shlomim. Yet if you have in mind the shlomim, it's still going to be kosher. You could still continue and go throw the blood on and sacrifice it up on the altar, even though the mitzvah is that it should be done with the proper intentions, it's still going to be valid. So, but you haven't fulfilled your obligation. Just because you can continue to bring that offering and continue with the other part, you can throw the blood on and offer it on the altar. However, if you have to bring a certain offering, you have not fulfilled your obligation, even though the animal is going to be brought, except for two. So, except for the Pesach offering and the chatas, those two cannot be brought. If you do those shelo lishma, so that you cannot continue with the services, the Pesach and the chatas. So Pesach bisman, or the Pesach we're talking about, a Pesach that's brought in its time. So the regular offering that's brought on the 14th. So you have until from Chatzos on the Erev Pesach until the nighttime, but before or after it's not going to be good. And if you offer a Pesach offering, let's say today, so that the Gemara said it has a status of a shlomim, it has a status of a peace offering. But if you offer the Pesach with the wrong intent on the 14th after midday before the evening time, so then that's going to be totally invalid. You cannot proceed. And any sin offering that's brought with shelo lishma, let's say you bring your chatas and you have in mind an ola or a shlamim, so then that is totally invalid and you cannot proceed with any part of that offering. Rabbi Eliezer Omer af ha'asham, not only a sin offering, but even a guilt offering. So ha-pesach bezmano v'chatas v'asham v'kolzman. The Pesach in its time, like we agreed to, the sin offering and the guilt offering at any time, if you have the wrong intentions, so then it's going to be totally invalid. I'll explain to you my reasoning. Chatas is brought for a sin, and Asham is also brought for a sin. Ma chatas psula, just like a chatas is totally invalid if you have the wrong intentions. Ma chatas psula shelo lishma, afa Asham pasal shelo lishma. So too, a guilt offering is totally invalid if it's lo lishma. Yossi ben Choni Omer hanishchatim l'shem Pesach l'shem chatas psulin. If you the animals that are slaughtered l'shem Pesach or l'shem chatas are going to be puzzled if they're brought with the wrong intentions. So sorry, if you slaughter any offering as a Pesach offering, so even though it's not a Pesach offering, or you slaughter any offering as a chatas offering, so those are going to be puzzled. So just like we said that all offerings, if you have the wrong intentions, let's say an ola to a shlomim or something to an ola, are going to be kosher. This opinion saying I'm agreeing to you except for two exceptions. If on the 14th Erev Pesach you bring the wrong offering and you have in mind a Pesach instead of an ola, that's totally invalid. Or at any point of the year, if you're bringing an ola, a shlomim, an asham, and you bring it l'shem chatas as a sin offering, so that's going to be also totally invalid. Shimon Achi Azariah Omer, Shimon the brother of Azariah says, Shachtan l'shem gevoa, so mehen ksherin, l'shem namuch mehen psulin. So it depends. If you shech the animal with the wrong intention, but the wrong intention is an animal that has a higher level of sanctity, that's still going to be valid. And if you shecht an animal, but you have in mind an animal of a lower level, so that's going to be invalid. So yeah, so Rashi just says, for example, a bechor, the firstborn of the meiser behema, or your meiser, your 10th animal from your flock, they're a lower status than a shlomim offering. So if you bring a shlomim having those in mind, that's going to be invalid. If you have those with a shlomim in mind, then that is going to be valid. Ketzad kache kadashim sheshaftu lishma. We know that there's certain offerings that are called the kache kadashim, can only be eaten on in the inner altar, and they only have a shorter time frame to eat them. Sheshaftu l'shem kachim. If you sheshaftu l'shem kachim kalim, if you have in mind lower level offerings, psulin, they're invalid. Kachim kalim sheshaftu l'shem kache kadashim sherim. However, if you do a lower level offering and you have in mind a higher level offering, then it's going to be kosher. Yeah. A bechor, the firstborn of the meiser and the 10th animal that is shechted for the sake of a shlomim, which is a higher level than these animals are, sherim. If you go the other way, though, it's not going to work. Shlomim sheshachtim l'shem bechor l'shem meiser psulim. If you shech a shlomim in the name of a bechor or the name of meiser, that's a lower level of sanctity, so that's going to be invalid. 6:40, right? 6:30. 6:30. Oh, so that's soon. Okay, fine. So that's the end of the mission. So we'll start the Gemara. So lama li lemisna ella shelo alu lisni velo alu lebailim l'shem chova. So the Gemara says a whole very elongated phraseology. All the zbachim that are brought for the wrong intentions are kosher. Rather, they haven't fulfilled the owner's obligation. Why do you say it such a convoluted way? Just say it very straight. Just say below all of the l'shem chova. That's it. Just say if you bring the offerings, they're not good for the owner's obligation, and you'll understand. For the obligation, they're not good, but for the offering itself is still good. So hakamash malan to come to teach you lebailim hu delo alu l'shem chova aval b'kedusha sayu kaimi the aser l'shnui behu, to teach you that this idea that the only thing that it's not good for is going to be that the owners do not fulfill their obligation. However, the sacrifice itself will remain in its sanctity, and therefore aser l'shnui behu, and you can't change it. It's gonna remain. Yeah. Ukidarava. Okay, we'll start from Ukidarava, God willing, tomorrow.